Talk to me.
Sing now, Elijah. Sing now.
Sing the song. Talk to me. Let's take a poll. By show of hands. Raise your hand if you would rather text than call someone. Overall. Okay. Let's take another poll. Raise your hand if you have checked your phone for any reason in the past 10-15 minutes. Don't be bashful.
Past 15 seconds.
Alright, raise your hands if you immediately check. You may not respond, but if you immediately check your GroupMe, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram notifications when you get them. Okay. Lastly, who thinks that technology has changed the way we as human beings communicate? Everyone. Okay, great. Now, as I begin my examination and embark on our critical discussion, keep this in mind. Are you in control of your technology, or is your technology in control of you? Allow me to explain. Sophia was only 14 years old when she had received her first smartphone for Christmas. She had pleaded with her parents for months for this one miraculous gift, and now that she finally had it, she was going to use her iPhone 4S with all its perks and benefits. Just so happened that texting was one of them. She would text, and she would text. So much so that even when she was in the kitchen and she saw that her mother was cooking, she would text her mom and say, "What's for dinner?" At her family tables, whenever they had their dinner conversations, she would find herself buried in her cell phone, disengaged from the conversation, disengaged from the worldly discussion. And come to find out, she was texting so much, she almost had carpal tunnel. She's suffering from a tragic case of textomnia. A prognosis which means that you have lost your ability to communicate with others. But she's not alone. 1 in 4 teenagers in the U.S. have smartphones now. In 2012, the Pew Research Center's Internet and American Life Project conducted a detailed survey on daily modes of communication between teenagers and those with whom they communicate. There were about 800 teenagers who participated, ranging from 12 to 17 years old. Now, which form of communication do you think is the most dominant? Anybody? Cell phones? Okay. Texting. Texting is the most dominant form of communication. Compared to 2009, the average number of texts sent and received rose 20%, increasing from 50 to 60 text messages sent every day. And primarily 14 and 17-year-olds went from a median of 60 texts a day to 100 texts a day, with the highest being 150 and lowest 50. Now, that's a significant jump, big increase. 63% of all teens say that they exchange text messages every day with people all over the world. This communication far surpasses any other, primarily face-to-face. Face-to-face conversation and socializing outside of school is only 35% compared to that 63%. In 2009, 38% of teenagers with landlines and cell phones stated their percentage is now lower than 26%. And 31% of these teenagers reported that they don't even know how to use a landline anymore. We live in a new era, a new age of communication. But why all the distance? But you see, teenagers aren't the only ones that are guilty. Our parents are. Adults. As we have increased our use of social network. According to a similar study done by Pew Internet Research, 72% of online adults use websites like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Flickr, and so on, compared to only 7% in 2005. Browser Media, Socialnomics, and Macworld is a comprehensive research group that collects social media data worldwide. It reports that there are 1.4 billion Facebook users worldwide. 98% of these people are our age, 18 to 24 years old, who already use social media. 11% of people in the entire world use Facebook now. And we spend about 700 billion minutes every month on Facebook. Over 92 billion YouTube viewers spend 2.9 billion hours on YouTube every month. And as far as our Twitter, our trending topics, our hot topics, guess how many?
Please don't tell me.
Guess how many? 190 million tweets per day. Now some of you may be wondering, what's the big deal? I mean, I use my Twitter, I use my Facebook, so what? With so much emphasis on texting, our communication has become divided. Talkers and texters. ABC Nation's news reporter wrote an article titled "Texting Preferred Over Phone Calls." It suggests that more teens are either avoiding traditional face-to-face conversation or are losing the ability to communicate, which is vital to relationships, friendships, family, so on, and also in the workplace, because you have to work with people in order to get your task done. But I'll add that it's also vital to your humanity. William J. Seiler, professor of speech communication at the University of Nebraska. You might well stand at 9 or 12. William J. Seiler, professor of speech communication at the University of Nebraska, authored a book titled Introduction to Speech Communication. He posits that our ability to communicate with each other means that we are human. It means that we are personal. It shows that we are individuals. How so? Language. Language is intimate and personal. It reveals who we are and how we feel. Through the mediums of audible sounds, facial expressions, body language, tonal semantics, and so much more. Renowned philosopher and lecturer Dr. Cornel West poses that language is a fundamental aspect of our humanity. He defines a human as a featherless, two-legged, linguistically conscious creature born between urine and feces.
Come on.
Now, let's impart meaning to linguistically conscious, which means to understand another's language. Understanding shows empathy. Empathy shows feelings. Feelings show emotions. Emotions show our humanity.
Yes. Make the connection now. Teach.
Now, how emotive can we be from a computer screen? Think about it. Even on our social media feeds using Facebook, Twitter, and so on, we have all these other different voices that we're looking at on a computer screen. But in some sense, we're isolated because we're not talking. We're not vocalizing ourselves. Therefore, our inability to effectively communicate, primarily face-to-face, imposes a consequential, detrimental situation. One in which we become dehumanized because of our imbalanced use of technology. For if communication is an integral part of what it means to be human, one can only imagine and wonder what will be the result if we, yes we, as human beings in America and around the world, continue on a slippery slope of unmitigated technology use, juxtaposed to an inadequate human connection because of our misappropriation and lack of appreciation for face-to-face conversation. As we enter an era of technology boom, let's welcome new forms of technology and new forms of communication. I understand, let's tweet away. But let's have a balance. Let's not be biased. Let's not discriminate. We as human beings must retain traditional values of dialogue. By maintaining bipartisanship in our communication, A, the human race refrains from dehumanization. B, we also expand the definition of what it means to be human through the evolution of our communication now. I'll leave you with the question as I began. Are you in control of your technology, or is your technology in control of you? Lastly, let's take another poll. Now, by show of hands, who will finally take back control of their technology? Who will no longer allow their technology to control them to their will? You're in control now. All right, now the fight begins. The battle will not be easily won. It's uphill. So you must persevere. I challenge you all to persevere and take back control. Because if not, your humanity is at stake. Fellow Toastmasters.